I'd like to open the regular council meeting of May 9th, 2017. Can I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Sorese?
Here.
Mr. Roden?
Here.
Ms. McFerrin?
Here.
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Here.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
He's here.
He's
Thank you.
There he is.
Now we're going to have the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance from Ms. McFerrin.
Father, we ask for guidance and direction in all city matters before us tonight. We give thanks to be able to be together. Let us continue to strive to make our community a better place. Help us to work together, and may we give our best always. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have the minutes from the April 25th meeting. Are there any changes or corrections, additions? Anyone? Then the minutes will be approved as written. And next, I'd like to make a motion that we change the order in our agenda. If you have an agenda, next should be the audience participation, but we have some awards and presentations that we wanted to do this evening. So I'm going to make a motion that we move item number 5 ahead of number 4, and I need a second.
I'll second.
Mr. Scafidi, seconds. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0. Next is presentations and awards. Mayor?
Is my mic on? All right, great. All right, well, thank everyone for coming tonight. I'm gonna give a little story about how this came about, and then I guess talk about a little bit about my friend Todd here. So about a month ago, our CERT team was able to get a new trailer, and the trailer was basically converted into a mobile command post. And we had a local business that helped decorate it. It looked great. We did a presentation with it, and I noticed the wheels on it looked really horrible. So a friend of mine, so Todd Duranick, works at Blackburn Tire. So I called Todd and said, hey, we got this situation. We got, is there anything you have that we could buy or you might want to donate? Todd's like, send me the specs. So I sent Todd the specs, and one day he texted me, he's like, where's it at? I told him. And he shows up and put these covers on the wheel, these chrome covers that really dress the vehicle up. And the reason I tell you that story is just because what we're going to talk about tonight, I haven't had a chance to really talk to Todd too much about it. Behind the scenes, I was texting with his wife Sheila and sending prayers and doing a lot of things, but Todd texted me back and he said, is there any way I can meet the guys that were involved in the accident I had? And that was back in August 31st of 2015. So for the people that are here tonight that don't know what happened, I'm going to read a little bit. So I've got some proclamations here that we prepared. And sorry, this might be hard for me too, because this is a very challenging thing for Todd. But I'm going to read a little bit about what's in these proclamations. It's kind of a summary of what happened that night. So in the early morning of August 31st, 2015, Todd Duranick was involved in a serious motorcycle accident on Interstate 480 and the State Route 91 exit ramp. Dispatcher Jennifer Wagner and dispatcher Marion Stubbs received multiple calls regarding the accident and immediately dispatched emergency responders. While fielding multiple calls at the same time, dispatcher Wagner provided CPR instructions to Mr. Duranick's friend and passing motorists who stopped to help. The first officers on the scene were officers Matt Pfeiffer and Bob Waltz. At the time when they arrived, Todd was unresponsive, no pulse, not breathing, and had serious injuries, to say the least. Patrolman Waltz recognized injuries to Todd's leg, and you'll see when Todd stands up here, he's a big guy, he's always been a big guy. He's got some more challenges these days, but I know he's still working hard. But anyway, recognize the injuries that he had. Let's see, Patrolman Waltz ran to his cruiser to retrieve a tourniquet and an AED. Patrolman Waltz applied the tourniquet while Patrolman Pfeiffer continued CPR until the Twinsburg Fire Department arrived and took over. With the assistance of Patrolman Terry Wayne and Ken Klein, the roadway was shut down and a landing zone was established. Dispatcher Wagner and Dispatcher Stubbs quickly worked together, contacted medevac, and so they had to bring in life flight to transport time. Lieutenant Marcus Kettner, firefighter medic Jeff Hall, firefighter medic Joe Sugar, firefighter medic Mark Miller provided medical assistance, as did Chris Storm, Earl Wilson, Bob Davitt to assist on the scene. He was flown to Akron City Hospital. Todd still faces kind of an uphill battle. He's doing great, but I know there's challenges. I know he's got a strong faith. He's got a supporting family, his kids and his wife. I think we have a picture. So, up here. His wife could not be here. She is in California with his daughter, Kendall, moving into a new apartment. And they thought about changing it, but he wanted to make sure we did this tonight. So Ty, you can come on up here if you want. And so tonight with us we have, so this is Ty Durank, his wife Sheila is in California, Kendall's in California. We have Kyle, Christian, and Nicholas.
Where's he come up?
I know Nicholas is going to come up, but he doesn't come up.
So my wife Sheila, my daughter Kendall. My wife Sheila's in the center, my daughter Kendall, who cannot be here tonight. They wanted to be, they're upset that they can't be. I certainly want to at least have the opportunity for you guys to see who they are, as you may each in their lives. It's my son Christian, next to Christian is Kyle, and my youngest is Nicholas.
So I know Nicholas has some things he wants to share from Kendall. Okay.
So, she couldn't be here, as you know, because she's moving apartments, but this is her message for everyone who had a part in saving my dad's life. First, I would like to apologize for not being here in person. I wish I could be here so I could thank each of you personally for what you've all done. Regardless, I want to thank each and every one of you for the role you played in saving my dad's life. If it weren't for all of you and the roles you played, I wouldn't have my dad today. It's no secret among my family that I'm a daddy's girl, so I don't know what I would have done had he passed away. Thank you for saving one of my best friends. Nothing I could possibly say or do will ever come close to repaying you all for what you've done. Sincerely, Kendall Durank. And then personally, I would just like to say how much it means to me for what all of you have done, because as a son, I was 12 when this happened, and that's a point in your life when you really need your dad to be there for you and kind of teach you how to grow up and how to, handle the real world. And if it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't have that person in my life. So I really want to thank you, because it means the world to me that my dad is standing here next to me, and it would not be that way if it weren't for you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would like to say a few words. This morning I had this whole script in my head, and now that I'm up here, my emotions are overtaking my mind. So bear with me. Certainly each and every one of you that responded to that email were part of God's plan to save my life. And in my opinion, you guys are true heroes. There's nothing I can say or do to possibly repay you. But I thank you for what you did, so I can continue to be a husband and a father, and a friend, and on and on. You're truly heroes. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. God bless each and every one. Thank you so much.
All right, at this time I want to hand out some proclamations to some of the people involved in this. So I'm going to have Todd and his family help me here. So first I'd like to bring up Jennifer Wagner. Is Bob Waltz around? There he is. Usually can't miss him.
He's the guy that directed traffic.
All right. From the flag, you want to come on up? All right. Firefighter paramedic Mark Miller. Firefighter paramedic Jeff Hall. Lieutenant Kettner. Is Sugar around? I don't see him. All right. Anybody want to accept for Joe? And again, these are, this is our safety force that was immediately involved in this, but we also had firefighter paramedic Chris Storm, Earl Wilson, Bob Davitt, Jerry Wayne, patrolman Ken Klein, and of course dispatcher Miriam Stubbs was also part of all this. And this is just, there's special times that, as the mayor, we get to recognize certain people and situations. And I'm glad this, God kind of had a plan of bringing this all together, and it started with a phone call to me asking Todd to do a favor, and then, it led to this group here tonight. So, thanks again for all that they do, and I'm glad that he's standing here today. So our meeting is going to continue. However, for all those that are involved in what we just did, I have some cookies and drinks and other things. So I thought you guys might want to excuse yourselves and go out there and talk to Todd a little bit.
Okay, next, we're going to continue with audience participation. Before we do, I'd like to read again the rules of council. Number 111.11, conduct of council. Any member wishing to gain the floor shall first be recognized by the president of council. No member shall address the same subject more than twice during the same meeting, no longer than 5 minutes without leave, nor shall any member speak more than once on a given motion until every member desiring to speak shall have had the opportunity to do so. For audience participation, persons will be given the opportunity to speak in order of signing in. Persons will speak on the issue that they state on the sign-in sheet. Persons granted the floor shall address their remarks to the president of council and shall not engage council members or other officers of the city to debate. Tirades are not permitted, nor shall any person utter any profane, derogatory, contemptuous, slanderous, harassing, mean-spirited, malicious, or false comments or remarks. The presiding office shall limit to 5 minutes the time permitted to any speaker to address council. You will hear Shannon say to you, you have 1 minute when there's 1 minute left, and then at the end she will tell you your time is up. No person shall address council more than once at the same meeting. Members of council may respond during the audience participation only by leave of the president of council. And those are the rules of council that we hope to follow this evening. Shannon?
First, we have Elizabeth Dow.
You may want to pull that microphone, pull that microphone down toward you. There you go. Thank you.
Hi, Elizabeth Dowell, 11232 Savage Lane, Ethan's Green, Twinsburg. Mayor Yates, President of Council, my neighbors, I want to start by saying, Mayor Yates, I have the utmost respect for you and for your love of Twinsburg, and one issue I have to disagree with you. We just have to agree to disagree. That issue is the proposed roundabout at Meadowwood and Ethan's Green. You sent out a survey, and I answered it, but it kept saying it wouldn't accept my email, which I was using the one that was sent to me. One of the questions was, how did I feel about spending $300,000 to change the proposal? I have a question on the survey. It states, the city engineer estimates that the city will incur at least an additional $300,000 in costs to redesign the Phase 2 roundabout. Specifically, these additional costs are related to acquiring additional property needed for a traditional intersection, preparing new plans and specifications, and what I don't understand, repaying land acquisition costs required for the roundabout but not needed for a traditional intersection. I have lived in Ethan's Green for 18 years and never saw one accident on Glenwood in 91. Since the completion of the roundabout, I personally have observed 3 and know that there has been more. Every Saturday, I drive 91 to Hudson and 303, and they have the lights coordinated that you can hit every green light if you're going to speed limit to 303 from Ethan's Green. To have 2 roundabouts so close together and ones that are so small and poorly designed, in my opinion, is a travesty. For the people who live in Meadowwood and Ethan's Green, trying to get out of the subdivision between 6:30 and 9 o'clock a.m. and from 3:30 to 6 p.m. is going to be very difficult. And if there isn't a light to stop to get out, we just won't be able to. I plead for you guys, please, to vote down this second roundabout. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Mark Cavaras.
Mark Cavaras, 11246 Stanley Lane, Ethan's Green. Mr. Mayor, City Council, fellow residents. Roundabouts work and they serve an important purpose when used in the right application at the right location. I would urge everyone here to drive north on Lander Road for miles and go through the roundabouts that you hit. On Chagrin, Gates Mills Boulevard has 2 roundabouts. I drove those roundabouts a lot. I used to work for the city of Pepper Pike, so I was on them every day, several times. I always felt safe. They're large. You can see all the traffic entering the roundabout, all the traffic leaving the roundabout. Roundabouts work well when there's more than 2 streets intersecting. When you have a 3rd or 4th street, they call them 5 points, 6 points, whatever. They work well. They're needed at those locations, or at locations where when you're driving through an intersection, the street doesn't go straight through, it goes off to an angle. Roundabouts work very well. I just don't see the roundabout at Glenwood meeting the criteria. To me, it's more like an obstacle in the street that I have to avoid than something that I'm supposed to navigate. Every time I go around there, I hold my breath. The visibility is terrible on the other side. You can't see everybody entering or leaving the roundabout. I see people hesitating all the time. I don't feel safe there. It's got a kind of a ramp in the middle that your tire hits when you go through. It's kind of surprised too when you go through, and not everybody's used to that. I suppose after a few years, everybody in the neighborhood would get used to it. But everybody is going to be using that's in the neighborhood. I mean, people who don't normally drive roundabouts, especially that tight. I mean, you don't have a lot of time to make a decision to enter that or exit that roundabout. And I just don't see it being successful in this application and at this location. Roundabouts, again, they serve a purpose. Drive those other roundabouts, you'll see what I'm talking about. I've driven many times. I've driven roundabouts in Boston, which is one labyrinth of one-way streets and roundabouts. Boston's crazy. My daughter went to college there. You need them there because of the way the city's laid out. We're not laid out like that. At a four-stop intersection, there's no guesswork. Light's red, you stop. It's green, you go. You want to turn, you wait for an arrow. There's a lot of guesswork at that little bump in the road there that we call a roundabout. I'm a pretty good driver, and like I said, I hold my breath going through there because maybe the other guy isn't so good, or he doesn't know how to navigate a roundabout. And the elderly have a hard time, I think, with it too. They're not used to it. People are used to 4-way stops. Most intersections in America, and intersections are 4-way stops. I think this is throwing a curveball into the traffic pattern in this city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Daisy Walker.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Ministers, Council, and staff. Daisy Walker, Environmental Commission. 2 weeks ago, which was Council, it was April 25th, and Mr. Yates presented 2 $300 scholarship checks to 2 high school students, and it came from a company, XC Expert Cleaning Service. And I was really shocked that this company gave it to us, number one, and then they were only going to give us 1 $300 check, but then they called the next day and they said they wanted to give 2 checks so we could satisfy the number of applicants that we had. Then after the meeting was over, it was bittersweet because that meant that I had to go out again and get more money for 2018, and not knowing the challenges that when you go and you ask companies for money, that sometimes it's just the law of the drug, just something that if you get it, you do, and if you don't, then you have to try and try again. Well, you know, being a Bible reader, it talks about in the New Testament, given it shall be given unto you, pressed down and running over, that men may give into your bosom. So what that means is, as long as you are a generous person, that you just don't have to ask anybody, that they will come and give money to you. Well, the next day, which was Wednesday, I received an email from the same company, and they said, Daisy, we really enjoyed the presentation, and my daughter really would like to pay it forward again. And we would like to give the Environmental Commission a check for $1,500 for 2018.
Wow.
And it's really emotional for me because my daughter just graduated Friday with her doctorate, and it took her 3 years to get it. And she had to pay for it cash, so she doesn't have any school debt. And so I'm just grateful that the Environmental Commission can help a high school student in paying for some of their college education. And I was reading about generous people are the ones who give more than is expected of them. And I know we have the Gates and we have the Warren Buffetts, and they're all good, but we need local people with a great heart to give to our students because they're our future. And I was totally overwhelmed by the generosity of this company and for their kindness and their understanding, and they weren't selfish. And I would always say that this is the best city that we have in the state of Ohio. The people are so generous, they're so kind, and they're so understanding, and they're so helpful. So I just want to say that God bless this company. God bless Betty Stewart from XE Expert Cleaning Service, because she certainly have a heart. And just thank you, council and mayor and Mr. Maestros and staff for just working with me so we could continually to strive to educate the students and the children here, because they're having an opportunity that I wasn't afforded. I had to pay for my own, and it took me 30 years to get my doctorate. 30 years. And I had to do it before I got married, after I got married, before my kids, after my kids. But I made it. So I just want to thank everyone for just being so kind to the Environmental Commission. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Daryl Jones.
Daryl Jones, 11240 Stanley Lane, Twinsburg, Ohio. Mayor, council, I'd like to approach the 91 subject. Last time I sort of messed everything up myself, my speech. Mayor, regarding you, I think last night you sent out an email at the last minute or a text, and it gives 25 hours for everybody in the city to respond to it. I think that was very short notice. They've been trying, council has been trying for almost a year and a half or 2 years now to get an answer like that, a survey. They didn't get it. And as far as the plans for the highway, I remember going to the first meetings. Some of you weren't on council, some of you were. There was promised there would be 2 sets of drawings. One would be with the roundabouts, and one with the 4-lane highway. And there would be an option to have it not a 5-lane, 4-lane. And what does it cost to take those off the shelf and put down on your plans and open them up and look at them again? it doesn't cost us $450,000. And if you went ahead and bought the property ahead of time, was it with the state's approval, or did you do this on your own? I don't know. I wanted to call the state today because I know a few people in the state, and I didn't. And that was a mistake of my own. And I don't think that a roundabout at Evans and Meadowwood is logical, because you're making them too small, definitely too small. I've been in the highway business for 40-some years, and I've never seen one roundabout with 14 lights hanging over my head. Now, when you go, right now, you're having a hard time with people looking left and right. And like you said, with the bump in the middle of the road, which that was a poor design. I have never seen a roundabout with a bump in the middle, but that's my opinion. And all the other roundabouts that I've been around, they're a lot larger, even in Boston, where they're small, a little bit smaller, but they also have very, very large ones. They come off of a freeway, and they go into 5 and 6 lanes. I just disagree with you. And like again, I think it's very short notice from you, Mayor. And no hard feelings. It's just very short notice to get everybody out from this city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have David Post.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
David Post, 3108 Kenilworth Lane, Twinsburg, Ohio. I'd like to take a moment to reflect on some comments that were made specifically by Bill Fury. The first comment comes from a meeting on July 8th, 2014, in which Bill Fury seconded the motion for the roundabout. Quote, after sitting down with the city engineer as well as the mayor and looking at the data, 30% better throughfare with the roundabout, the 4-lane roads blend well into the area, and with the less impact points, it's simply a safer design. So I will be supporting it this evening. That evening, there was a 3-3 tie, after the vote, and so we went to another meeting. On August 28, 2014, it was Bill Fury who made the motion for the roundabout on that evening. Not only did he support it, it was his motion. In the discussion, here is what he said. Quote, 25 years ago, there was a council that could have had a 5-lane road and run it straight through Lake Solon, and they said no. And it's been a mess for almost 15 years. I've been here 22 years. It's been a challenging intersection for a long time. My wife has actually been in 2 accidents coming into Twinsburg further down, so they count as Solon accidents. But she's been rear-ended twice. That's how long we've been talking about this. We have had 2 separate independent traffic studies, and both came back that the throughput is twice as much, and the safety numbers on the collisions is 90% less likely to die if you run a roundabout, and 70% less of an accident that causes significant injury, and 48% less of overall crashes. One of the first things I did on council, speaking to a gentleman there, one of the first things I did on council was fight for 2.5 years to get a fire station, because specifically your development had 1 entrance, and it was 7 to 10 minutes to get an ambulance when the goal was 4 to 5. At that time, it wasn't popular. Let me say it again. At that time, it wasn't popular. We had to fight about how big it was going to be, where it was going to be, but safety was important to there. By the time this happens, you're going to have 2 additional exits out of your development. Everyone takes a right turn out of a roundabout. Realistically, what I'm being asked to say is, am I going to vote for a 90% chance more of death, 70% chance more of severe accident, 45% more of accident of any kind, and half the throughput? I don't want to make the same mistake that the guys did 25 years ago. In addition to that, if we're going to talk about safety, having a kid walk across 5 lanes versus the setup that this has, where you have to a stop signal and a stop traffic, go one lane and then another signal to stop traffic. You only have 2 stops. It's called a hog system. So my question is, what causes a man so passionate about something to change his mind in the bottom of the night? In multiple conversations that we have had privately at homeowners association meetings, you've said multiple times this was a no-brainer, it's much safer, it's better, we have to do this. So I ask again, what makes a man change his mind so drastically? I guess what I'm asking now is, are you in favor of 90% more chance of death? Are you now in favor of 70% chance more severe accident? Are you now in favor of 45% more accidents of any kind? Don't twist my words. I know you never wanted that of anybody. I know you not want that. But these are your words. These are your words that I'm quoting. So you said yourself in your words that a fire station wasn't popular. So why did you do it? Your words. The golf course had a lot of opposition, but you helped to head that. Why would you do that? There was opposition. Why would you do it? You did these things because you looked ahead. Forward thinking. I've sat here before and talked about forward thinking. You did it because you were thinking ahead. But flip-flopping now, Amy Moore at that meeting in 2014 presented at the meeting that it's not about today, it's about 25 years from now, right? When you thought about that fire station, it was thinking forward. And here we are going backwards. It doesn't make sense to me. You're the one who said it was 25 years ago, and you said if we could go back and talk to those 25 years. 1 minute. At a cost of $20 a person to every man, woman, and child in the city, to change your mind now is ridiculous. You mentioned Lisa Lane and Solon. That was there long before these arguments even started, so to bring it up now, the discussion is insane. It doesn't make any sense. It's irrelevant information. If this is based off the first roundabout, the learning curve is, we're still sort of in the middle of the learning curve. So to ask a poll now makes no sense. You ask people 5 years from now, what do they think of the roundabout? If you don't do this, the second one, you don't do any construction, 5 years from now, you go say to people, what do you think of the roundabout? Well, they're going to say they like it. Because after 5 years, everyone knows what they're doing, but we're still in the learning curve. And you're going to ask a poll now? Of course people are going to say they don't like it, okay? Let's go back 25 years to those people and tell them we're going to build a roundabout. Let's say, what's a roundabout? Well, fast forward 25 years, those guys are going to look at you guys and go, why did they put in a roundabout? If they could only have thought forward like we are thinking, right? Let's put that $300,000 somewhere else, right? Let's put that, if we're going to spend $300,000 plus, and I heard that if we do this, we could potentially lose future funding. And if that's the case, this really isn't a $300,000 question. It's $300,000 plus how much more in the future. That's what we're talking about here. It's not a number that you can question because we can do so much more.
Thank you.
Flip-flopping isn't good. Thank you.
Next we have Sarah Gollner.
Hi, my name's Sarah Gellner. I live at 2112 Van Oaks Drive in Meadowood. I already spoke a little bit at the caucus, and I just want to reiterate. I think that there have been some naysayers, but we went ahead and we put in the roundabout at Glenwood in '91, and I think after an adjustment period, it's been very successful. And I encourage you to please go ahead and put in the second roundabout at Meadowood in '91. I really think it'll benefit the city, and as a resident of that particular subdivision, I am in support of it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Lou Peterson.
Lou Peterson, 11238 Stanley Lane. Council, Mr. Mayor. I've been a member of the Twinsburg Fitness Center for many years. As you know, for those who go there, I see a couple people I know that do go there. On the walls of that fitness center are AEDs, defibrillators, units that save people's lives. I asked several of the fitness center trainees or fitness center employees if they've been trained to use these units, and the answer was no. I was a safety manager for many years at a company of over 300 employees. We had these units installed. The day we had them installed, we had the manufacturer come out and train our safety committees on how to use these units. Not years have gone by and there's been no training. You people have a responsibility. You talk about safety. safety of your citizens. The population in this town is getting older. I've been retired 3 years, and there's a lot of old folks up at the Twinsburg Fitness Center. Please, please, if you do anything in your meetings, get these fitness staff trained in how to use these units. Don't wait for the fire department across town or across the street to come over. Every second matters in the life or death of a person when they have a heart attack. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to say anything?
Next, Dwayne Smith. Wait.
I'll address Lou really quick. So I think we talked about that before. So one of my missions when I became mayor was to get every single employee here trained with first aid, CPR, and on the AEDs. We've done that over the last 2 weeks. We've had 2 sessions where we've had approximately 80 employees in each. So I think we're about 95% trained with our 200 employees we have here at the city. So
Okay.
just let you know
That
that.
includes the fitness center?
Especially the fitness center.
I'm serious.
I've seen you work out. No, I'm just kidding.
And the guy that I talked to still hasn't been trained, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's something that we went from probably 30%, we're up to about 90, 95%. There are a few that we're working through because of schedules.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
Hello, members of council. Wayne Smith, 10225 Darrow Road. Real short and sweet. I just want to say that as elected officials and leaders of the city, it is not your responsibility to make everybody happy. You're never going to make everybody happy. You'll never get a majority vote. You'll never get a majority anything. But the responsibility of making everybody safe is 100% on your shoulders. So as far as I'm concerned, statistically speaking, the roundabout is safer. All roundabouts are safer statistically. So to me, a no vote against the roundabout is 100% voting against safety for the city and the citizens. So that's it. That's all I have.
Next, Michael A. Turl.
Excuse me. Michael A. Turl, 9930 Forest Lake Drive. 91 Meadowwood, Glenwood Roundabout. I really didn't come up here to talk about that. I kind of want to now. Can I change gears in the middle? Or what I really wanted to come up was I wanted to thank Mr. Yates for his mayoral meeting last week. It was very nice. We've had a few of these open town hall style meetings, and it's very nice and refreshing to be able to come in and speak directly and have questions answered directly and openly, and a nice open back and forth dialogue. I understand it's not at all possible in council because you guys have work to do. But I do appreciate you doing that. I look forward to more of those in the future. And I think the city was pretty well received by it. There was a pretty good turnout for that. So that's as much as anything. Can I speak on a roundabout or I gotta go?
It's your mic.
You got 4
Mike.
minutes.
I got 4 minutes? I will be very brief. Mr. Fury may have changed his mind between 2 or 3 years ago and when this is, and I believe a lot of this is actually seeing what the final product has come out to be. I think when that thing was built, everybody's shocked at how small it is. There is a ramp in the middle of that thing. It's crazy. If you're on Glenwood, you're in a perfect T-bone intersection. I know these guys get a kick out of that over here. But yeah, if you're going Glenwood to Glenwood, you are at a 90-degree, it's bad design, very bad design. I said 20 years ago that we should widen Route 91 to 5 lanes. Look at what Solon's doing. Should we think about doing this in Twinsburg? This was 1998. Look what Solon's doing. You drive from the Twinsburg-Solon line all the way to Route 43. You're not going to stop for more than 20 seconds at any light until you get to Route 43, and then obviously you got 2 state routes intersecting. So you're going to have some traffic there. But I would gladly sacrifice 20 seconds as opposed to, as this gentleman said, having to hold my breath going through that intersection, because it is. it scares the bejesus out of me every time I go through there, because people on 91 just refuse to yield. And Twinsburg Police can't be there 24/7. They've got a whole city to patrol. But that thing is dangerous, and to put another one over there, I personally don't like it. If it costs $20 for every man, woman, and child in the city of Twinsburg, I'll gladly throw my $20 on the table, and I'll throw in 20 for Mr. Post over there too, and cover him, but I think it's money well spent to rethink this whole thing, because we've had several accidents in 6 months of this thing being open. Mr. Steele went over the statistics last meeting. We've had more accidents in 6 months than we've had in 10 years up there that I can recall, and I just don't think it's working, but that's just me, so thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And last, we have Chuck Benacci.
It's not about entertainment. My name is Chuck Benacci. I live at 11327 Heritage Drive. Now, these little traffic circles, roundabouts, whatever the heck you want to call them, they're from England. England's known for rock and roll, and they're known for right-hand drive automobiles. I don't know how these roundabouts got popular, but they are. And I used to hate them. I moved from hate to kind of tolerate. And I drive through 2 of them every day, and they're not in Twinsburg. One of which, I don't understand why it's even there. It's in Shaker Heights, and it's like they moved the road, and it seems to take me longer to get to work, but they claim they made it move faster. I don't know. But I'm here to address council. So good evening. Mayor, ladies, audience, people at home watching for fun, folks on YouTube. It's an honor to address council, and I've had the privilege to do it a couple of times. And I've been treated with respect and courtesy every single time. I've ranted about some of the most outrageous things you could rant about at the council meeting, and I've talked about some very serious things when I'm not ranting. And believe it or not, the rants are also serious. And I've complimented your work, and I've worked with you on some things, and I've addressed other commissions and other boards in this city to try to get work done. Try to improve something for the city. And I've watched as others have done that. I've made suggestions that the city would come at minimal cost, minimal spending. I've asked the city to do a better job of enforcing ordinances. I've asked the city to add programs for young people, old people, people who like walking in the winter. I've asked the city to improve an already robust service offering. Everything I've asked for would cost the city under $100,000 to implement and under $50,000 to operate indefinitely. $150,000. Yet, we still don't have some of the stuff that I've asked for. Others have asked for other things. And I've watched them get more frustrated than I did. Some people want to save an old school. Some people want to save an old business. Some people want to save something. And guess what? This council hasn't taken any action on any of that stuff. You've resisted the change, but then you moved the change. But you haven't opened up your walls to improve it much. There's been lots of improvements for water pipes. There's been lots of road improvements. There's sidewalks going in. But there's nothing to clear the sidewalks in the winter. Newsflash, if we want a walkable downtown, you gotta have a walkable district, and you have to have ordinances that are enforced and make it walkable. Common sense. It snows in Northeast Ohio. Clear the sidewalks. Get with the schools. Try to get them to clear them too, because they're just as guilty as your properties. I've watched the other residents talk, so I'm not here to second guess any of your actions. That would be wrong with me, because I have no idea how challenging it is to sit in those chairs. No idea. Do I aspire to sit in those chairs? Maybe. I got some good stuff going on in the fitness center and eating cheeseburgers around town. So I got a full plate, literally, a full plate. Cheeseburgers, french fries, and milkshakes, and free food groups. And it's great to know that if I tuck her out and the hot dog case and didn't cure the heart, there's somebody that knows how to run the defibrillator. But the reality is, we vote you guys and gals to do our business, and we trust you. I think I learned that in civics class. and we trust you. I think it's something called representative democracy. Now, I'm not good at all this stuff. There was one time I wanted to be a lawyer because on LA law they had pool cars. But I asked you, is asking my opinion, after you already made a decision, the smartest way to exercise your authority as a councilman?
Time.
Or as a mayor?
1 minute.
1 minute, perfect. So I come here to the council to see small changes in traffic design, or this council's made recommendations for a small change in traffic design that would come at a huge cost in terms of dollars. I'm not a fan of these roundabouts. I'm not a fan of country music. I'm not a fan of fresh eggs. And guess what? There's people harboring livestock within 500 feet of their residence, which is against the ordinance, and it's there because chickens are dangerous. They're dangerous. Bob Dylan almost died because of chickens. That's crazy. And we let them just roam around our streets. I'm concerned that the steps that were taken last week would cost the city hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yet, there's a lot of stuff we don't have that costs way less than hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I come here, seriously, by the end of this meeting, I'll stick around till the end, I'm looking forward to emergency legislation at the end of tonight's meeting that would commit to spending city dollars to search for Sasquatch, Bigfoot, or Yeti, whatever the heck you want to call it, in Liberty Park. Because spending money that way is about as crazy as changing the plan that you guys put in place a couple years ago to make the traffic flow a little bit more free.
Time.
And you might have more people show up and search for Bigfoot if you gave them some money to do it.
Thank you. Is that it, Shannon?
That is.
Okay. Next, we have council communications. Mr. Scafidi?
Thank you, Mr. Sorese. Good evening. Get to my page here. Unfortunately, my committees that I sit on have not met in the last 2 weeks. However, the Board of Zoning Appeals is looking at we've got a tentative meeting scheduled for May 24th, right here in the council chambers at 6:30. Other than that, again, my committees have not met, so that's the end of my report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Stauffer?
ARB met on May 4th. There was a couple of signs that were approved for McDonald's. They were approved as submitted. There was a deck and a seasonal enclosure that was approved for 1704 Tinkersview Drive. Losing my voice, sorry. Corbett's Lane, a couple of new homes were approved as submitted. 10172 Corbett's Lane, 10077 Corbett's Lane, 10124 Corbett's Lane. So they were all approved. Also, a few homes by Ryan Homes, 2723 Hunters Ridge and 2764 were approved. They had a couple of changes and they were approved. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Fury?
Thank you. The Park and Recs Committee met on April 27th. At that meeting, they elected Dave Kleiman and Deb Peltz as chair and vice chair of the group. There was a presentation by a group of professors from Cleveland State, also associated with Cosmos and Damien, who gave an overview and a request that we look for an area at Liberty Park to put a cricket field in. There is some developable land there. They were going to donate money to put portions of it in. They're talking about an area behind the Field 4 where the Little League plays at this point. There were also a presentation by Deb Peltz, who's done work researching a group from Hudson called the Hudson Friends of the Park. This is a nonprofit organization that Hudson utilizes to raise money for canoe trips or park and rec type activities for the city that's separate than the city. They do this by getting, I think, 1,000 members to pay a fee, similar to a Friends of the Library, Friends of the Parks kind of deal, where you pay an annual fee and participate as an additional way to make monies available for recreation in the city. Deb Peltz has taken this on with a small group to try to get this incorporated. Mary Yates was at the meeting. He was going to assist them if possible. And I think that it's a great opportunity for the city. If you have a child that's looking for a summer job, we need lifeguards. We will train them to be Red Cross certified lifeguards for both the outdoor and indoor pool. And even though the Human Resource Department's gone through and done a lot of summer hiring, there's a shortage of Red Cross lifeguards. Excuse me?
No, I'm saying I have a kid.
I do too.
Okay.
I don't think it has to be limited to
Your two
children.
kids are ineligible because we
know.
have this thing in 41 that
I've
says you're
heard.
not allowed to have the children of council persons or the mayor be employed. So if you want to amend it for lifeguards, I'll support you. Although David Post will probably pull out something 10 years ago when I said not to support this. Thanks, David. They're also discussed the Relay for Life, which is moved to August 16th. We have Gabrielle Santacesaria, who's one of the youth sponsors, youth people that's organizing it, and it's moved to the square instead of at the stadium where it's traditionally been held. The next meeting of the Park and Recs Commission is June 22nd at 7 o'clock. I also got a letter from Terry Pateo from the Our Community Hunger Center. This year they were blessed to be able to provide 304 families and individuals Easter dinner with 150 children getting Easter baskets. This month in April they served 1,771 people consisting of 697 seniors, 857 adults, and 393 children. They are a member of they are a choice pantry member of the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank, and they could always use your support. They're located at 9733 Ravenna Road, Suite G, and their phone number is 330-963-FOOD, which is 3663. The police are having the Josh Materian Golf Tournament this year at Glen Eagles. The date of the tournament is July 14th, and Brian Donato is again organizing it. It's $100 a player. It's Friday, July 14th, starts at 8 a.m. in the morning, and it's a shotgun start. They have 144 golfers. They always sell this out. It's to a great cause. This supports the Josh McTerrian Scholarship Fund. So if you're available to play Glen Eagles on July 14th, please contact Brian Donato at the police department. They'd love to sign you up. That's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Roden.
Thank you. The next Environmental Commission will be May 11th, at 7 p.m. That's this coming Thursday. And we'll be here in the chamber area. We had over 35 rain barrels were given out to residents and Earth Day attendees who signed up for the rain barrels. The Environmental Commission will be offering another rain barrel giveaway on Saturday, May 20th from 10 a.m. to noon at the Public Works facility for those who previously signed up and could not make the first giveaway event. Also, an additional 30 rain barrels will be given to a Twinsburg Eagle Scout troop for a special badge project. A grand total of 100 rain barrels were distributed. Rain barrel applications and a copy to the City of Twinsburg rain barrel regulations are given to all of the Twinsburg residents who have signed up for it. So that is it for me today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Steele.
The Planning Commission's meeting on the 1st of May was canceled. They will, as far as I know, we're meeting again on the 15th. None of my other committees have met.
Thank you. Ms. McFerrin.
None of my committees have met.
Thank you. I went to the Twins Day Committee meeting this week on Wednesday night, and things are moving along for the 2017 festival, and they're looking to do some new things this year and change some things up. They already have over 400 sets of twins registered, and 38 of those sets are new to the event. So I think the word, probably because of social media, the word is getting out and the festival is growing in that way. And that's the only meeting that I had. So I'm finished. Mayor?
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, again. I'm glad everyone could be here tonight for that presentation. It's always great when we can honor our police and firemen here in town and dispatchers. A couple things I had on my notes tonight, actually, Lou. We just completed 2 large sessions of first aid CPR training. Obviously, there's a couple of them we still need to get to, but it's definitely a goal. I mean, you know, one of the things that's, I think, important is to make sure everyone is trained on those machines. You know, one of the things we also were running into was making sure we're checking the batteries on the AEDs. It's great to have an AED, but it's nice if they work also. So different things that we just need to do that, you know, I think will make us, the city better. Another thing we did recently was, with all the employees, is we set up free biometric screening. We have a wellness program, but another thing that we were able to bring in a group to do biometric screenings on all the employees that are willing to participate. So we have another round of that coming up. You know, we anticipate a good turnout for that. A couple of things I've just want to talk about, I guess, with the school. I did attend the State of the Schools recently with Kathy Powers, and you know, I guess with the new levy, things are looking positive for our school district this year. I want to thank all the businesses and the groups that provide scholarships for our students. I was at the scholarship. I give out a small scholarship myself, but you know, there's probably 60 different organizations and individuals and families and businesses that give out scholarships to our graduating seniors. So I just want to publicly thank all those that are able to do that. And I just want to, I won't be here at the next meeting because I happen to have a child graduating this year, and that's the same night as council. So I won't be here next council meeting, but I just want to congratulate all the seniors that, you know, have been through, like my son's been through from Wilcox through high school. Congratulate them on all they've done. Coming up, we've got a couple events. We have our Cleveland Reggae Fest for the first time. We're hosting that at our amphitheater. Ms. Dowell, if you'd like to go to the Reggae Fest, I could probably arrange some tickets. So, but that's something that's new for us that we're going to be hosting this year. The Chamber is hosting again. It's 3-chamber business show at Signature of Solon. So if you've not been to that, it's not just for businesses. It's also for residents or anyone. It's a great show, but that's going to be on May 18th. I think it starts around 4 o'clock, but I encourage you to attend. And then lastly, each year we do a Memorial Day parade. And of course, that's May 29th. So I'd encourage everyone to come out for that parade and then also stay for the memorial ceremonies that happen on the square afterwards. And that's all I have this evening. We have a few department head reports. All right. Chris, you want to start?
Good evening, Council. The Service Department and Wastewater Departments are in the swing of their spring and summer operations. As far as service goes, the crews continue to do roadway maintenance, patching potholes. We've now got the hot mix material. So they're finishing up on potholes, getting them secured for the year. We've had a considerable amount of rainfall, so the crews have been into the choke points on the stormwater system. They've been in there 3 different times during the month of April, cleaning and monitoring. We've made a few adjustments to some of the catch basins, opening them up a little bit more, getting water flowing. So trying to help out in those areas that we identify as high water collection areas. So we will keep after that. They finished up tree pruning, did a total of 808 trees. Moving right along with that, and the trees start budding, so we have to stop that for the season. They'll probably start that back up in November, and they've got a pretty good handle on the trees. The tree line trees are getting those pruned, and so they're starting to shape up pretty good for us. Branch chipping, the crews are currently in the May round. They had a total of 544 stops to date, so it's one of our big rounds, people cleaning up yards. They collected 184 yards of material. So this May round will probably conclude at the end of this week. Street sweeping, the same. This is our heavy trip through the city. We're about 75% done. It's taken us a couple weeks already to do that. They've collected 575 yards of material off the street. So it's, this is the time where we
do our most good. It's pretty heavy out there. Last year, because of weather, we weren't able to get out there and do the roadway crack sealing. So we got back out there this year. We got out early with some of the sunshine we had, and we've completed 60% of a total year. Usually we go out there in the spring and then again in the fall to do that crack sealing, and the crews were able to make it about 60% through the entire year. So we may finish everything up this spring, but at any rate, we've got to shut that program down probably at the end of next week to get into some of the other work. One of the areas is sidewalk leveling. We want to get back into that program. We had a pretty good start last year. We had a learning curve that we went through, and so we want to get back on that program. One of the big things we're shooting for probably in a couple weeks is the landscape repairs and roadway repairs as a result of Cleveland water work. We've got 20 areas for landscape repair and 5 areas for roadway repair. We will probably begin work at the Ashdale-Birchwood intersection to get that all tightened up. So that should go pretty quick. Those 20 areas for landscaping we should move through there pretty good. Hydrant painting, we're probably going to start that in June, and the goal this year is to finish up the remainder of the city so that all of the hydrants look good, hopefully at the same time. So we'll make our way through there. And then other than that, we're just into the seasonal work with a lot of mowing of grass, parks maintenance, ball field maintenance, and what have you. So pretty busy out there right now. So, and that's my report.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. All right. Chief Morgan?
Good evening.
Good evening.
During the month of April, the fire department responded to 218 calls for service. For the year, that brings us up to 903, which is about 13% ahead of where we were last year at this point. Just a couple of notable events. On the 14th of April, we actually got a call from mutual aid for a large apartment fire down in Cuyahoga Falls. So our aerial platform truck made a trip down there with a crew. As it works out, they got there as things were being brought under control, so they didn't actually do fireground work there, but just the kind of the nature of the mutual aid back and forth that we are involved in at times. And then again on the 24th, we responded to an early afternoon request from mutual aid to Solon for an apartment fire. And our ladder 3429 and our crew spent about an hour and a half up there completing searches of the building, fire extinguishment, and overhaul. Our Fire Prevention Bureau continues to complete inspections. They did 96 during the course of the month in April, and they also worked on 3 different fire investigations. We had 18 hours of public education, which contacted 50 people. And we also completed approximately 336 hours of training and through 108 different training sessions. A couple of points of interest. The weather warning siren test did not happen yet this month because of heavy call volume with the fire department on, that would have been the 6th. We didn't do the test, so the plan is to try to complete that test next Saturday. We are working on some alternate ways of trying to complete that on the scheduled day, potentially using the CERT team to help with that, so we can stay on schedule with the tests. And also hydrant flushing. And the fire department has started the hydrant flushing process for this year. We have almost 1,900 hydrants between the city and the township that we flush each year.
And that's a lot.
And we initially publicized that we were going to try to do that the months of May and June. Just because of the volume of work we're doing, other training we need to complete, we're probably not going to get that done by the end of June. We'll probably extend that into July and maybe even August. But just want to remind people that during that process, if your water is cloudy or discolored, just run your water a little bit longer and let the toilet clears up. This process is important for a number of reasons. One is to get the sediment out of the water lines. And of course, also exercising the hydrants, lubricating them properly. And then the added benefit for our kids is they get out in the neighborhoods and they get to see, you know, how the houses are arranged, what's in the backyards, what's in the side yards, what's behind the businesses. So it's a really good training opportunity for our crews as well. And as some of you may be aware, we were at a house fire this evening on Post Road. Major damage to a garage, fortunately. That was limited to the garage, a little bit of smoke into the house, so fortunately the people shouldn't be displaced too long before they can get back into the house. And the garage is another story. We're finding good detail. That'll be in next month's report. That's all.
Chief,
Yes.
you mentioned possible test this coming Saturday,
Yes.
the 13th. Will that be at noon, I assume?
That would be at noon also, yes.
Okay.
We're going to look at maybe adjusting our guidelines on that and maybe open the window a little bit more. We try to stay at noon just because that's when people are used to having it, but we might open that window a little bit more, maybe give a couple hour of leeway just in case we're busy or there's bad weather or something like that, so we can stay on schedule with that.
Thank you. Did you
I had
have a question?
I was just wondering, what's involved in the testing that you do? I mean, I used to think you just pushed a button and the alarm went off, so
Well,
just kind of curious.
We actually try to get people at each location to witness the function of the siren.
Oh.
The complete test is a three-step process. First of all, demonstrate the ability to activate the sirens. And so dispatch rings the tones and they go over the radio waves and activate the sirens. And then we have hopefully witnesses there to see that they do move and they do sound.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another process that the dispatchers go through that shut the sirens off. And that's just demonstrating control of the sirens.
Right.
And then the third step is they run it on a 20-second cycle that reactivates the sirens. They run for 20 seconds. And at the end of that cycle, this flashing strobe light on the side of the box is supposed to continue to flash for up to an hour. And that's so if we're not able to be there to witness the function, we can go by and see if the light's on. That's supposed to indicate that it did in fact work. So there's some backups and some safeties there. I know there was some discussion via social media this past Saturday that people did hear the sirens. They weren't in fact Twinsburg sirens because we did not set them off. They were most likely Solon sirens. So
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
I appreciate it.
Thanks. All right, Assistant Chief?
Good evening. During the month of April, Twinsburg Communications Center generated 2,452 calls for service among the Twinsburg Police, Fire Departments, Reminderville Police and Fire Departments. And the total for the year so far is 9,326 calls. The Twinsburg police officers arrested and or cited 148 suspects in the court on 208 different counts. The arrest counts include one charge of improperly handling a firearm in a motor vehicle, 14 drug-related charges, 1 texting while driving charge, 23 for driving under suspension or without a valid license, 12 for operating a vehicle under the influence of alcohol or drugs, 4 underage liquor possession charges, 2 open container charges, 1 domestic violence charge, 3 fleeing and eluding charges, which were felonies, 13 warrants were served, and 4 theft-related charges. The remaining charges were various criminal and traffic-related charges. The Twinsburg officers issued 260 written warnings and 1 parking citation. Officers investigated 35 crashes. There were 4 injury crashes out of those 35, and 12 were on private property, and we didn't have any fatal accidents. And The other thing I wanted to bring up of note is we are going to be giving a police test on May 21st. So if you know anybody that wants to be a police officer, we're going to be taking the applications next week. So have them come on out and put in their applications. We are going to be giving the agility, the physical agility, and the written test on the same day. So those that pass the physical agility test can stay and take the written test. If they don't pass the physical agility test, they can go home. But so the other thing of note that we're going to be doing this year is we're doing the National Night Out. That's August 1st. It's always going to be the first Tuesday in August. And we did it last year. It was a big success. And we're hoping to get even more people out. And the whole idea there is to just get the community out to meet your police officers. So we have games, we have food, we have giveaways, we have the Safety Forces Fitness Challenge where the fire department goes against the police department and sometimes the mayor helps out. And it was a lot of fun last year, so if we can get the community to come out to that, that would be fantastic. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
There, were you reporting? All right.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Just to give you a little bit of idea what we're doing now. We're currently working through reimbursement of the 629 and ODOT Jobs and Commerce grants for the extension of Independence Parkway. As you may recall, the extension of Independence Parkway is required to accommodate Amazon. The Amazon building was literally thrown up and went up in 4.5 months, which was really, I think, pretty much a record for a 248,000 square foot industrial building. But now we have to go back and try and separate out the roadway costs from the rest of the cost of the project there and submit those costs to the state for reimbursement. The way this works is we have to verify the costs were spent and show proof of payment on the part of the contractors. We reimburse the contractors and then the state reimburses us. So our primary goal with this is to make sure that what we are going to be paying the contractors following all the requirements of the grant programs, and we provide appropriate documentation to enable us to get reimbursed for the money that we pay the contractor. So it's a fairly arduous process in this particular case because things were kind of in a rush and thrown together with both the building and the roadway constructed at the same time with many of the same contractors. So we're working through that. We'll probably be completed with that and make our payment prior to the end of the month. I had a discussion with US EPA regarding the brownfield application we submitted last fall. They have not received any award notices yet, and that should be coming prior to the end of this month. In anticipation and in response to council's request for proposal, I've put together a request for proposal to enable us to proceed regardless whether we get funding or don't get funding. We still we'll be ready to submit a request for proposals for demolition and site cleanup and asbestos mitigation. This is the time of the year that I step out business visitation activities, and my goal this year is to do at least one business a week for the rest of the summer. The mayor and I have a couple of visitations scheduled, one for Vertex Computer Systems this week, one for San Fran Power Systems USA next week, and I've got others in the queue. So anxious to do that. That's always a very enjoyable opportunity for us, and it gives us an idea of the breadth and the depth and the nature of the companies that we have here in Twinsburg, and it's truly amazing. I've been here for a number of years, but it's just amazing to me the kinds of things that companies in Twinsburg actually do and the kinds of products and technologies that they're involved in. The next Twinsburg Community Improvement Corporation meeting will be on May 16th. It will be at 6 p.m. and it will be at the Twinsburg Center on the Square, which is 9833 Ravenna Road, next to the VFW Hall. Also had discussion with the AMATS people who are handling our Connecting Communities grant. We will soon be going through the solicitation of consultants process required. That basically is an RFQ, RFP process and selection of consultants to be involved in the Connecting Communities grant, which will be the analysis of potential trail connections between the existing trails and primarily the central area of Twinsburg. And that's my report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry. Karen?
I'd like to report our collections of our first advanced distribution for this month. We've received so far $1,755,646, which is a 6.26 decrease compared to last year. But again, this is the first advanced distribution. We'll give a full report once we receive the second. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you.
That's it, Chris.
That's it. Thank you. Chris, can you come up to the podium? Mr. Steele has a question for you.
My question is, where do we stand on cleaning the fire hydrants on Rolling Hills?
Ooh, I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't know exactly where we're on that. Like I say, once we start in June, the thought is that we'll be able to finish the whole city. We got a little bit more than half of the city done last year. So I can't tell you exactly what week. I might be able to
Okay, but
tell you
it's
something.
it's in the plan still, and it's going to get done.
It is.
Okay,
Yes,
that's
it
fine
is.
with me. As long as you say it, I believe it.
Yep, we will do it.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay.
Okay, legislation. Ordinance 61, 2017.
An ordinance amending Chapter 927 titled Municipal Snow Removal Services of the codified ordinances of the City of Twinsburg.
I'd like to make a motion to put ordinance, that's the first reading.
First
on it,
reading.
isn't it? Okay. You want to explain it at all, Mayor, or just leave it for later?
It's real simple. We've changed the ordinance to reflect a $75 charge versus a $50 charge for the senior snow removal program. There will be a $25 discount. They'll be awarded if you sign up before November 30th. So so it's back to the same price. What we're trying to do is encourage people to sign up by the deadline. We've had problems in the past years. We just like to get everything organized with our crews, with our trucks, with our routes. So hopefully this will help motivate those to sign up on time.
Thank you. Ordinance 62.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into amendments to a contract with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association Patrol Unit and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to put ordinance 62, 2017 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Steele, second. Discussion?
The reason for the emergency is that they're going to amend the current contract, and then they're going to go into a new contract. We want to do it as quickly as possible because the police unions agreed to this as well.
Any other comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Emergency clause passes 7-0. Now I'd like to adopt ordinance 62, 2017 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury, second. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes. Ordinance 62, 2017 passes 7-0 as an emergency. Ordinance 63.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with the Ohio Patrolmen's Benevolent Association Sergeant Unit and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to make a motion to put ordinance 63, 2017 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Steele, second. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Emergency clause passes 7-0. Now I'd like to adopt ordinance 63, 2017 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Steele, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ordinance 63, 2017 passes 7-0 as an emergency. Resolution 64.
A resolution instructing the city engineer to amend the plans for the State Route 91 improvement project to reflect a traditional intersection at State Route 91 Meadowood Ethans Drive.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 64, 2017. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Discussion.
I would like to say something. So I want to clear some things up because I think there's some misconceptions about what I think, what I don't think, where I stand. I'm just going to go through and read. I wrote this to somebody, but it's pretty accurate to what I feel. I'm actually really pleased with the first one. I think there's a misconception that I dislike the first one. I actually was for the first one. And I was against the second one. And I've always voted against the second one. I don't see the benefit, but at the same time, I'm very fiscally aware, and I'm not going to do something that would cause the city to have greater money that we would already spend. However, we talk about the poll that we just all got yesterday, and I'm a little disappointed that we've been asking for it for a year, and we get it yesterday, a half hour before the mayor puts it out. And I don't think it's a true value to why you did it. I know maybe just to appease those who asked, but I feel it was almost kind of a slap in the face because it really means nothing now because no one really is gaining or not gaining from it. I also think we've been given misinformation from the start. I think we were told at the after we already had voted, and me and Gary both, and Mr. Sorese both voted no, that we had an opportunity to change it. And we've been kind of played all along this whole, however long it's been, saying there's opportunity, it may cost money, we don't know exactly how much. We've had numbers from 150,000, 200,000. Now, before the poll came out, it was 500,000, and we put on the poll 300,000. So I feel that's been extremely misinformed. I've been misinformed. I think we've been misinformed on what we could do, and that probably never should have been something that we even should have addressed to council, that there could have been an option to change after we voted on it, because technically there really isn't, and you never wanted it to be. On the other side, I also think, Mr. Fury is allowed to change his mind. I think how he goes about it and how he goes about and does things is not always the way I would do it, or do I agree? I sat here, and I think me and Ms. Stoffer sat out in the audience in 2008, 9, whatever, before we ran, and I watched the council meetings, and I thought, I can do different. I can run it different. We can make a difference, and these games are still being played, and I don't appreciate it. So, with that being said, again, it's been a tough decision. I like listening to the people. I think that's one of the reasons I kept talking about a poll, and there's been some emails talking about, that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to make that decision for you. But I think it's important that people be heard. That's why you voted me in. Now, again, I'm fiscally minded, and I'm not going to waste money. We just voted in a new levy. It's going to cost us all a little bit more money. So so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd just like to follow up on that. I disagree a little bit with Mr. Roden that, if I recall, I sat here and Amy for at least over a year told us that we had an opportunity to make a change. And truthfully, Mayor Yates is not the one that told us that originally. He wasn't even here when that happened. Okay, we were told that by other people in charge at the time. And it was true, and I know Amy's if I recall right, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I recall her saying, the time is running out. I need to know what you want to do. I need to know what you want to do. Last year, Mr. Fury came up with a survey, and it was at my suggestion that it was too soon to put out a survey. Let's wait until the roundabout was up and running and give the residents and all an opportunity to navigate through that roundabout and see exactly how it works before we go ahead and put out a survey when, in fact, it was opened way too soon. We all know what happened there. I mean, it was opened too soon. There were several accidents. So we decided to hold off on it, and we decided to wait to put that survey out. And I still think that, and I said it at the time, I wasn't for a survey then, but if we waited, I would be for a survey later. Fast forward to yesterday, I want to commend the mayor for putting that survey out. I don't see, there is no deadline to the survey. Right, Mayor? I mean, I didn't see that today. Yesterday was the only day that you could vote, and today it's over, and whatever votes are in, that's in. I believe there were about 1,500 residents that voted or that answered the survey. There were residents that answered it 3 times. There were residents that voted from the township. So, all that stuff has to be sorted through. And I called the mayor today and I asked, where are we at with the survey? How's it looking? Are you getting responses? And that's when I got the answer. And truthfully, when I called, he was busy going through the responses from the survey, because it is important, and he knew it was important to council. So, I think that I cannot support Resolution 64, 2017. I said it at the last meeting. I think that, those of us that were here back in 2014, we voted and supported this roundabout. I don't understand the about face. And everybody has a right to their opinion, but you know what? That's $300,000 coming out of everybody's money here, not the person that made the about face. I don't know that you would run your household like that, but I'm speaking to the crowd. So, it boggles my mind that, and I made a comment last time, and boy, did that get skewed, that I would have never supported that golf course had I known this was going to happen. It wasn't an exchange for. I don't exchange my vote for anything. What it was, Mr. Turtle, was that the fact is, if I knew we were going to be starting to throw, at the time the number was 500,000, if we were going to be throwing $500,000 bills out the window, well then we better stop and save some money somewhere. I would have never voted for a $6 million project. We better keep that money in our coffers so we can throw $500,000 bills out the window. That was my point. It wasn't an exchange for anything. So again, I don't exchange my vote. I just think I think at this point it's a bad move. I still think that and I agree with a lot of the residents that I've heard from so many residents within the last couple days. I have had a couple negatives, but I got to be honest with you, most of them have been positive responses. And they want to see that roundabout go forward. They're happy with the first one, and it does work properly. I go through that area probably at least once a day of every day of the week. And I'm not going to say it, I've never seen any close calls. I've never seen any mishaps. I've had them myself. And I'm aware of that. When I go through there, I prepare myself for that. And I look to see where I'm going. I look to see who's coming at me. I want to make sure that they're doing the right thing. And I still say that we're learning how to navigate that roundabout. I'm so pleased with the way it moves the traffic through there. I've waited at that light several minutes, many days, going to work, coming home from work, running to Heinen's. I mean, anymore that's not the case. It just doesn't happen. And I know I had reservations myself between having 2 roundabouts so close together. But the times that I have seen backups there since Glenwood opened was they were backed up in the morning at the light at Meadowwood, backed up past Mr. Smith's house. I see it all the time. And I've seen it several times, not all the time, but several times. So that's where the backups are now. So I really think that it's a learning curve. I understand what everybody's saying. It's a change. It's a big change. And it's something that we've all got to learn to live with. Change is never easy for a lot of folks. But I still say that it's a go. I will not support Resolution 64, 2017, and I don't understand. I think that the survey's out there. Again, I thank you, Mayor, for putting that out there, and I'd really like to see the outcome of that survey. When is it closed? I mean, how long is it open for?
We haven't really put a time limit on it at this point.
Okay. And so that's my comments. That's all. I don't want to go on.
I mean, it was still
Thank
active
you.
today, so
Okay.
there were still people taking
Anyone
the
else?
survey today.
Any other comment? Mr. Steele?
Can I use the lectern over there for this? I don't want to.
Sure.
I need to be able to see the screen. Over here on the wall is a summary of the 5-year accident data that I got from the Twinsburg Police Department. This is the intersection of 91 and Meadowood. If you go across the bottom, okay, you'll see that at Meadowood in 91, we had 25 accidents. Over a project, yeah, Meadowood 91. We had 25 accidents in the period from 2011 to 2015.
If you want this recorded, you might want to be on the mic.
Yeah. Anyway, from
I
2011
don't
to
care.
2016, we had 25 accidents. Of those 25, we had 2 possible injury accidents. We had 1 injury that was transported, and we towed 5 cars. Okay? Mark, can you put the one up for 91 too? This is the one for 91 in Glenwood. Okay? In 91 in Glenwood, the yellow highlighted ones, yellow highlights indicate the 4 accidents that actually occurred in the intersection of 91 and Glenwood. That was before the roundabout. The green at the bottom shows the roundabout accidents we've had since the roundabout went in and we started allowing traffic to go through it. Okay? 2016 in that roundabout, we had 10 accidents. We had 1 injury accident where somebody was transported by the fire department. In 2017, we've had 8 already. Okay? If you go back through the start of that chart from 2012 through before the roundabout, we had 7, 16, 21, 23 total accidents. Over a 4-year period, we averaged 5. Okay? We're already up to 8 in that intersection. Now the mayor will say, listen, we're going to put a 5-lane intersection in at 91 in Meadowood. We don't have any data for that. And the answer is, we don't. Okay? But then again, I don't advocate putting in a 5-lane intersection, because the 5-lane intersection, as the mayor has come out, as Ted has said, is we're going to have to do more takes. We're going to have to take more land away to build this intersection, and I don't think we should. I think we should go and we should do what Solon is going to do at 91 and Lisa Lane. Solon is going to change their lanes so that both lanes going northbound will be straight through lanes, and the left lane will have a left turn arrow on it. Okay? What you can do when you do that is you can stop all the southbound traffic and allow the northbound traffic to go. And you can allow that to happen for as long as you want it to happen. You still allow the residents to have a left turn out of their development so that they can get through the traffic and get out of their development. So my thinking is this: I think we should compromise at 91 in Meadowood. I don't think we should build the 5-lane. I think we should build the 4-lane. Is it going to be the best flow of traffic through that intersection? Not the best, but it's going to be better than we have. It's going to also allow the residents who live in Meadowood and Evans the ability to leave their developments during rush hour on a traffic light. They may have to sit there longer than what they like, but they will be able to get out and feel safe. Okay? The last thing I want to say is, okay, the first job of city government is to ensure the safety of its residents. To my fellow councils, I ask you this. Should we build a second roundabout knowing our accident experience at the first one. Right now, with the accidents that we've had 8 accidents since the start of this year. We're on track to be 300% more accidents than we've had before. Okay? It's going to happen. I'm sorry, I think, some of you guys think that we're not going to have people are going to learn and they're not going to get into the accidents. That's wrong. Okay? The last thing is, like I said, should we build a second roundabout with our accident experience 91? I think not. And Mr. Roden, Ms. Stoffer, those are your constituents, your neighborhoods, the wards that you represent. And I think you need to think long and hard on whether you want to put that out there and have those accidents occur.
Okay, are you done?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I know you weren't here during the initial studies that we read extensively. And if you had pulled up on the Federal Highway Association right now administration page, the data hasn't changed. That's indisputable that it's safer. And there's nothing that has come out.
That is not the experience that we are having at 91 in Glenwood.
Absolutely, but there's data from the Ohio Department of Transportation, there's Federal Highway Safety, none of that has changed. I mean, there's no question that the increase in accidents, the accidents increase in the first 6 months of a roundabout opening. That we knew that going in. We knew that people would have to be very cautious. That was explained to us 6 years ago when we made the decision. Mr. Fury, actually, you did an excellent job. Mr. Post reminded us. I mean, you were very well spoken, and all of the points you made.
You should listen to me more often.
But you were right, and you did a great job, and I appreciate that. But I do agree with Mr. Smith when he says, I was elected for the safety of the residents, and when you say pay attention to the residents, nothing has come forward that has disputed the fact that it's safer. I know you're showing me data. It's not on the roundabouts. It's not over the long term. The severity of the accidents, right here, Brian, right on in any study that you read, it will tell you that it's safer. So I'm thinking about those children that David talked about. That is my responsibility. So yeah, I take it very seriously. This was not an easy decision 5 years ago, 6 years ago when we made it. And I agree with Seth as well, or Mr. Roden, in that there were times when decisions were made and maybe it wasn't clear that there would be a cost associated with changing our mind. But I mean, we knew there'd be something, 300,000, maybe not, but we did know there would be. Right now, though, I have stood on this since the beginning, and it's not an easy decision, and it really is for the safety reason. And I can't, it's not been disputed. It's safer for the residents. It is. There will not be a death. And I understand people say, well, there hasn't been one, but I can't, that's not okay. It's not okay, because if it's my kid or your kid that finally has to drive through there and something happens, I can't sleep at night knowing that. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Scafidi, you had...
Yeah, I just had one other quick comment. I hear a lot about that everybody believes that the current roundabout is too small. And I just want to share with everyone a message that I got from a resident. I don't want to take the credit for it. But he goes on to say, if we're willing to spend $300,000 for a 5-lane road versus a 4-lane roundabout, why not spend the money and get a larger roundabout that covers 5 lanes? I'm going to pose this to Amy, and you don't have to answer it tonight. You can answer it whenever she's covering her eyes. And it seems that it would handle everyone's concerns and be a good compromise. So maybe, Amy, we can talk about a larger roundabout. It seems that that's a big thing on everybody's mind. And so maybe that would settle some of the concerns that people have.
That's all. I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
share that with those.
Any
all of you.
last comments?
I have a couple.
Go ahead.
So I wasn't here when it was voted for, but I listened to the meetings about it and the safety issues. But gathering what people in the community have questions on, these are the questions that have come up about where we are today. The first one, which I thought was really important, is where are the safety studies that say we should not move forward with the second one? And you could analyze the data, but we had ODAT and other studies done, and there's nothing that says we shouldn't move forward. But that was a question from one of the residents. One was, why is council wasting time revisiting a topic that you made a decision, you made a commitment to? And again, I'm just relaying things that people have said. Is this a switch just for future votes? Because people were really committed to it, and now all of a sudden, with no rationale, they wants to change their minds. And I guess my personal question is, where is the money coming from that everyone is saying we can do this change? Where is the budget? Where does that come from?
Is that it? Thank you. Mayor?
All right, so, well, Mr. Jones, I'm going to hopefully answer some of your questions with my comments. We've been talking about this a long time. My position on this has not changed. Early on, when we started looking at this project, we questioned also both roundabouts. We questioned the first roundabout. But council at the time spent hours with field trips, researching roundabouts, the safety of roundabouts. Again, Mr. Fury did a great job sharing the statistics. They're safer, the bodily injury accidents are less, and they move traffic a lot better. And it's difficult to see us move down this path. We didn't just get here. Back to your design question, there was not two full designs that we spent money on. We asked in the beginning, what would the two look like? So having a site plan kind of drawn and said, here's a proposal one way or the other is different than going to full design. So we didn't have two sets of plans. We had two sets of proposed options. Okay, so and so we went down that path, and this council voted in 2014 specifically to move forward with phase two. And I understand Mr. Roden's comments. He felt he was misled through this process. But all along, we've continued to move forward. And any resident, any council, anyone that's ever asked me where we're at, I'm like, well, we're continuing to move forward down this path. A survey was proposed, last year, end of last year, I'm not sure when. And to be honest, I've never supported a survey. I think I've made that, I've made that position. I just felt when this was brought up, and no one stopped council from doing a motion to do a survey. I mean, only thing I requested at one point was to do a survey right after one opens just seems useless. I still think this is too soon, but I understand the position we are with the second part of the project. So that's why I did the survey. I deliberately did it really without, and they'll tell you, without council's knowledge, because if you've ever had 9 people trying to make a decision on what to ask, when to ask it, how to ask it, it's difficult. We have a PR firm we work with that does this for a living, so we went to them. And it went out. The scientific way to do it would be to actually do random sampling around the community with phone interviews, but that was going to be $20,000. I didn't feel like spending $20,000 on a survey I didn't support in the first place. So we have this software that we're able to do it the way we did it. And is it perfect? No. Some people, because of the computer they were using, something happened, they couldn't take it. We have blank ones out there. You're welcome to fill them out. Some people voted Mr. Turrell 3 times. So your name, that's 3. It popped up. I have the report. So anyway, I'm just saying that this is not perfect. It's not a perfect system. So is the data scientifically accurate? No. But there is some data now. We had 1,500 people or so respond, and we've started to accumulate all the responses, and not really any real big surprises, but council can move forward with what they want to do tonight. They've asked for a survey. I initiated it, over the last week. It went out. They don't know what the results are, but if they want to ignore what the residents had to say, they're welcome to do that this evening and vote on this. Mr. Steele presented his data, and the roundabout was an issue when it was under construction. It was an issue. We had a contractor that was trying to get it open to avoid liquidated damages, and they were closing it in the day, opening it at night. We had a lot of situations there. It's been better. It's been perfect. There's still a learning curve. We could get rid of this second roundabout. Is it going to save all of you that are opposed to it from driving roundabouts? No. Macedonia's looking at 2 of them. They're coming all over the place. So we're not setting the standard here in terms of introducing this new concept to Northeast Ohio. They're coming all over the place, and this design was approved. This is an ODOT design. This originally came from ODOT that said, this is for Mr. Jones. You asked if it was their approval by the state. Yeah, everything was approved. Everything was approved. All the right of way was all part of the design of everything that we've done. And there is a cost to redesign. You said, can we just take that one off the shelf? No, you can't. The whole project has to be redesigned. We have to go do additional taking. We have to redo the taking. Some of it, the property, we don't need as much. Some of it we need more. So everything we purchase from the residents has to be redone. So there's significant time, effort, and money. Let me finish, please. So there's a lot more than just the 300,000. When we threw that number out there, I wanted to put in a conservative number, and again, that was a number. Seth brought this up that he hadn't heard before, because I didn't want to. We talked about 500,000. We sat down and said, what's the minimum that it would probably cost us, and that's where the 300,000 came from. It's probably going to cost more, and there's the intangible cost of, when we go out for funding. You need a project ready, you need to meet certain criteria, and you gain points, and you get selected for that funding, and you move forward, and it's getting more and more competitive to do that. What concerns me is we've got really good reputation with all of our funding sources. We start pulling projects and changing them in the 9th inning, as Mr. Post says. This could impact us down the road. How? I don't know, but it could impact us. It could impact our relationships, could impact our ability to get funds. It could impact a lot of things that for me, I'm not willing to jeopardize. But as we sit here tonight, council pushed this. Mr. Fury has done a complete 180 on this thing. There's video clips, if you'd like to watch it, of a beautiful presentation he did on why we should have a second roundabout. He says he's changed his mind. He's changed his mind. So if council wants to vote on this tonight, and they want to bear the cost, and they want to ignore what the survey says, they can move ahead with it. I've said this 100 times if I've said it once. Everything that I've just shared. So that's really what all I have to say.
Thank you. Last chance for comments. Ms. McPherson? Mr. Steele? Mr. Rhodes?
No.
Mr. Scafidi? Mrs. Stofford? Mr. Fury?
Mr. Yates, in the back room, I didn't hear the numbers. You had 1,500 or 1,800 people that responded to your survey, and on the second roundabout, it was about 50-50?
It was approximately 50-50, and then it shifted once you threw in the variable of spending money to redesign it. It shifted in favor of not.
Thank you.
Not going forward.
I was surprised by the survey that went out because we didn't have input on it, although one of the questions was very similar to the one we had on the previous one. I wish that you would also have added, though, where we're at with accidents in there. I would have subbed out the clean air question for the how many accidents we've had, or in a manner. But be that as it may, Mr. Post, you are correct. It was an uphill battle to get the first fire station. The administration either wanted it to be 10,000 square feet or wanted it to be in the little house right across from Post Road. So there was a lot of administrative pushback, because at the time Meadowwood only had one entrance, and to the bottom of the hill was 9 minutes from the station next door, Station 1, to down there. So it's worked out well. And then there were questions whether we needed it with Solon and Reminderville, and it's all worked out pretty good. Thank you for all the compliments on the fantastic job I did in 2004. I think it's unanimous.
2014, not 2004.
That might be used
Less than
as
3
the
years
training
ago.
video
Yeah.
for the state of Ohio
Yeah,
in
good.
the future. And why would I have any doubt about that decision? Because a year, 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I walked all over Meadowwood, and I was just shocked at how unhappy many of the residents were. It's the first thing they wanted to talk to me about. Also, many of the, I think there's, Mr. Post and I serve on a condo association, or a homeowners association together. I think there's 7 condo associations. There are R5 in the north section of Ethan's Green, North Pond, all those through there. In those areas, there were R5, typically empty nesters, senior citizens. Again, I had no idea that people were that upset about the original roundabout, let alone a second one, because especially on the Ethan's Green side, as people have said earlier this evening, there's no way to go without having a roundabout. So we talked about probably 18 months ago, I talked with the mayor about a survey, and the opposition that we had, right after the election, we talked about that. But it stalled, and I wrote something probably in August of last year that, again, we waited till now, or if it was ever going to come. The reason that this is here tonight is because we have to make a decision now or never again. 40 years, 50 years, that's it. The number of accidents really concern me, to tell you the truth. The one in Green that we modeled this after, or that was used as the example, is about 150 feet wide, and ours I think is 110 feet wide, maybe about. So I don't know if it's because it's smaller than the ones that we looked at in the past that we're having some challenges, but you take away the beginning stuff for the first month. In the last 4.5 months, we've had 8 accidents, which is our run rate for 18. It's a lot of accidents there when we're talking about in the intersection, we're having 1 or 2 a year. In addition to that, I don't understand what the bump and the other things were for, but that's why I would like to reconsider this. And Mr. Scafidi mentioned that get a larger roundabout. The $200,000 or $300,000 number came from, because I spoke to Amy and we were using $400,000 and $500,000 before, but it was like $100 to $150 to change the intersection. It could be a change notice to that construction drawing, and then the acquisition of more property. So I still think that I still am challenged because I never realized how close the Lisa Lane light is. But it's about 120 yards away, which no matter what we do is going to have a challenge with, in my opinion, of the light. And Mr. Yates did confirm that they were going to go with 4 lanes. I originally thought it was just 2. But those are my thoughts. And again, thank you very much for your time and all the compliments this evening.
Okay, thank you.
ask a question?
Can we have a roll call, please?
Do we want to wait to hear the results, more results, or more people from the poll than one day?
We got a motion on the floor. It's not going to change my mind. If you think it's going to change yours,
Well, if you said you want to listen to the people and you asked for the survey, you should
not
want to
that
know.
survey.
Not that survey.
We didn't ask
I
for
don't
that.
think that, I thought the survey
Call
was
the
done
roll,
well.
please.
I thought it was
Are we-
too.
Go ahead.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
No.
Mrs. Stoffer?
No.
Ms. McFerrin?
No.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
No.
The Resolution 64, 2017 fails by a 3-4 count. Resolution 65.
A resolution authorizing the city engineer to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement Program and to execute contracts as required for the State Route 91 widening from Glenwood to Solon.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 65, 2017. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Discussion.
This is to apply for the grant money for the road improvement.
Any other comments? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
No.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Resolution 65, 2017 passes 6-1. Ordinance 66.
An ordinance approving the recodification, editing, and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of Twinsburg, Ohio.
That was the first reading on that ordinance. Back to the agenda. Is there any miscellaneous unfinished business? Mr. Scafidi?
I have nothing, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Stoffer?
I have nothing.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Fury? Oh,
No, I said thank you, but my voice went
I
away.
thought I misunderstood.
I have lots, but not.
Sorry. Mr. Fury?
Earlier this evening, I witnessed a fire on Post Road that it was amazing how quickly the fire department, including the chief, got there, and as well as how many of the residents stopped to try to make sure that the people are out of the house. And it, you know, it's just a very sad thing that somebody has to go through that property damage, but the pets and the people that live there were safe. But I was very impressed with the amount of time the police and fire got there from the time I called 911 to it was less than 2 to 3 minutes. And I appreciate the work you do. I feel very sorry for the family at 2772 Post Road for their loss of property. So thank you.
That it?
Yep.
Mr. Roden?
I have nothing this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Steele?
I have two things. First thing is, Mayor, are we still on track to pave that parking lot at the golf course
We are.
ASAP?
We are.
Okay. Okay, the next thing with that is everybody pray for clear weather, no rain, so we get it done. Okay, and the other thing I'd like to say, earlier today when we gave the plaques to the guys from the PD and the FD, made me feel really good because I worked with all those guys. Too often, the good things that the police department and firefighters do never get acknowledged. We hear too many times that the bad guy, you know, the firefighter, or not firefighter, but the police officer in Chicago did something wrong. South Carolina did something wrong. And it was nice to see that we were acknowledging our guys, that they did something right, and they did it well. That's it.
Thank you. Ms. McFerrin?
I'm just thankful for everyone in Twinsburg. We have a great community, so thank you, and thank you for everyone coming and letting us know what you think.
Thank you. Mayor?
I have nothing else this evening.
Thank you. Mr.
Nothing, thank you.
And Shannon, I didn't forget you this time.
Well, I'm going to say the one because Gary wouldn't. So we have the Rotary tomorrow is doing a Damsels in Defense luncheon at Brewster's from 12 to 1. So if you want to come on your lunch, you can learn self-defense and also enjoy Brewster's food. It's $13 and that includes your lunch also. The second thing is the Twinsburg Garden Club has their annual plant sale, which is this Saturday, the 13th, at the Historical Society Freeman Barn, which is right next to the Historical Society. It starts at 8:30, which is a new start time for them this year.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
No, I want more.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-1. We're adjourned.